Hello there, Riderflex Nation. Steve Urban here with more career advice and job interviewing tips for you. And as a quick reminder, if you enjoy our podcast, please remember to subscribe to our channel and like the episodes. And on today's podcast, we have Jake Prazak, the owner of NIP Fitness Centers in Iowa. Jake, thanks so much for calling in today, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve. I really appreciate your time.
Well, tell us about yourself. Yeah, go ahead and give the listeners a background, kind of the personal, family, hobbies. Just kind of give us an overview, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I was raised in North Iowa. I graduated from a very small school. I think I had 45 in my class that I graduated from.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, pretty small. In Manly, Iowa, I did a lot of sports. Wrestling was my sport. Did some football too. I graduated from there and really didn't know what I was going to do. I just knew I needed to go to college. I attended some bricklayers when I got out of high school, and that really was a turning point of saying that I really wanted to do something different. I needed to go to college. I needed to do something different. And so that's when I signed up at my local community college. And basically, I just started taking some electrical classes is what I was going to do. I was going to be an electrician.
Okay.
And, and so the kids in the class, they decided, well, you might as well just join the electronics program. So that's what I did. I graduated at NIAC. I did my internship through them. And then I graduated, and I was a process engineer. And that's where I started out. And then I went to after that, I went to Winnebago Industries, and I was an electrical designer at Winnebago Industries for about, I think I was at Winnebago for about 10 years.
Is that where they're based in Iowa? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're based out of Fort City, Iowa.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
So, did that for 10 years, and in the meantime, I just knew I wanted to do something different. I was always into the fitness industry and was trying to break world records in the bench press, and that's what I always wanted to do. And the gyms around here they didn't fit what I needed. And so what I did is me and a buddy of mine, we decided to build our own gym. And so that's what we did. We got it built and realized we built my baby that I could not be there all the time if I wanted this thing to succeed. And so, I decided to basically just quit my electrical engineering job and go that full time. So it was a big step. But I always figured I could go back to it. And so I did. I did personal training and ran the gym.
Can I ask you that? Let me pause you right there. So you were always an athletic guy. You mentioned wrestling, and my sons were wrestlers in high school, so I know what's involved there. And so you were always in shape and an athletic guy. While you were working at Winnebago, did you have an entrepreneurial spirit, or that really didn't hit you until you got frustrated at the gyms you were going to?
I always did. I always wanted to work for myself. I always knew that I could do much more. I really liked what I did over there.
Okay.
I liked the people I worked with. I liked the work, but I just always knew I needed to do something more.
Okay.
And so, I actually had a little taxidermy business that I tried.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah. And so it just never led me to where I wanted to do. And I always looked back at what I was really passionate about, and that was lifting and fitness. And so I thought, you know what, that's what we're gonna do. And so me and my partner, we found a lot, and we basically built it by ourselves. We had a lot of help from a lot of friends, but we couldn't afford to hire everyone to do everything. And so we basically, like the banker told us, we did the MT when we signed on the dotted line. And the MT, I was like, what the hell's the MT? And he goes, that's the marriage tester. Because basically we signed everything we had away.
Gotcha.
Fail,
personal guarantee.
Everything that we have.
Yeah, right. So you put a personal guarantee or house on the line, whatever it was, you signed it all. It was all up for collateral, I guess, at that point.
It was all up. Me and my partner. Yeah,
Gotcha.
We both did the same thing.
Now, how did that? Can I just ask you? So So was this over several months or over a year, or did you just come home one day and say, sweetheart, listen, I'm going to quit my job. We're going to put everything on the line. We're going to put the house up for collateral, and I'm going to start a gym. Can you just walk? I think that's really an important, top topic right there, because a lot of our listeners, they are entrepreneurs, or they want to start their own business, or they've thought about starting their own business. But that right there, that moment where you're deciding to quit a full-time job, I mean, that's a scary deal, right? Can you just walk us through a little more of that, if you don't mind, how that went with your wife, and how do you, all those, a little bit more on that. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a huge part, and my wife she's wonderful. And she's always believed in everything I've did. And to be honest with you, I always really wasn't completely transparent with all my ideas with her, because she's more the type that worries a lot than I am. I'm more of go for it and do it. And so, this doesn't sound very good, but when I already had it decided that me and my partner were going to build a gym, no matter what anybody said, including her. And that. Yeah, and then so when we did that, and she's seen the gym was going okay, and then I talked to her. I go, well, I got to be there, and then I told her, I'm quitting my engineering job. And
is this the job? Is this the breadwinning insurance, health insurance job, or she had, a lot of stuff? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I made more money, but she actually had the insurance because she works for the city, so she had IPRs and all that good stuff. So she had our health insurance for our family and our kids. Okay. So that made the decision a lot easier on us, and so So the decision was kind of, I didn't rely on anybody else. I tried to I tried to rationalize it in my head and make sure that I thought this was the best decision, and I couldn't let outside sources, and even honestly, my wife, play a factor in that. I know that doesn't sound good, but you knew based on your relationship she was going to end up supporting you anyway, right? I mean, you kind of knew. I did. Yes, and so that's why I just kind of. I mean, I told her what I was doing, but it was more of this is what I'm doing because I feel I really have to. Now, when you did she was completely supportive of it, so it was, it worked out. That's good. That's awesome. Now, when you did that. Well, there's no money coming in at first, right? You're building this. You got this. You said you bought a plot of land and you're putting this building up. So there's 6 months before there's any revenue coming in. Go ahead, walk us down that path. How long between you quitting your job until you were actually able to pay yourself from revenue from the business? What was that gap? Yeah, so I didn't really, honestly, me and my partner, we both had other jobs. He had another job, and so we knew that we did not want to take any money, and this is what really kind of blows people's mind is we didn't take no money from the gym, neither one of us, for about actually 4 years, because he had another income, and that's how we decided, that's how we ended up growing and growing. But how I did it was I just knew I'm a very people person, and very knowledgeable with fitness, and so I just started personal training, and that's what I did. I see. Yeah, and I just built my clientele. I saved a lot of gas money. It was about a 45-minute drive to Winnebago, and I knocked that down to about 10 minutes, so I was saving gas money. And there was just some little things I was saving on, and you can always look at the money you're spending, and you can always find ways to save, and so that's what I did. And then, like I said, I built my personal training business, and I see. And that's how I survived and moved. But we didn't take much at all. Actually, nothing. Just because we knew we wanted to grow, we wanted to expand, and I think a lot of business owners end up taking, as a new businesses, they end up trying to take too much, and then they suffer. And so we just saved and saved and saved and saved, and good for you. Good for you. That's how it worked. Totally bootstrapped between you two guys. You didn't take on any other cash, no outsider cash. No, we didn't. It was just us two. Wow, that's great. Okay, awesome. So you got the first building up. Yeah, then you got go ahead. And so you got one building up. And kind of walk us through, the how phase. It went? Yeah, how it went and how you started getting clients. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, and I knew, so this area that I'm in Mason City is, we're about 35,000 people. So, my background was powerlifting, and that's what we wanted to do. But I realized that I couldn't market to powerlifters. That's a very small market. So I knew I had to market to every walk of life, from your senior citizens to your kids to your soccer moms to whoever it was that came through the door. I had to make them feel comfortable and help them. And so, we added a little dedicated women/senior circuit, I call it, up front, that we used for marketing. And it just made it very inviting when they walked through the door. I also offered free half-hour personal training to all new members, which kept me very busy, but it was so good. It just brought us a lot of people, and then we give back a lot to the community. We do a lot of different fundraisers for sick kids, so we give back a lot. And with this small community, I think they see that we're not money-driven entrepreneurs that doesn't care about giving back, and and that's one of our passions, is giving back and helping people. And we just slowly grew from there. And then that kind of led into.
Were you making more money from memberships, or more money from personal training and other things? How what's the revenue split, I guess, on the business? I don't know for sure how you do that. But.
Well, the memberships, there's no goods exchange on a membership. So,
okay.
That's, if you buy a membership for $300, that's $300 that goes into our account besides the tax purposes.
Mm-hmm.
We did, a small supplement business that we do in all of our facilities. It's just, nutritional supplements I believe in. But that we don't make a lot of money on. It's just more because people need those.
Okay.
And then personal training. Mm-hmm. And so that helped a lot. But I'd have to say probably memberships is what carried us, just for the fact that, there's no goods exchange there. And,
okay.
if you're paying $30 a month, that $30 a month is in our, it goes into our account. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of how the first facility went. When we expanded, we did other things as well. So we'll get into that too.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell us, because I saw on the website there's some other stuff. Walk us through how you expanded into some other areas and when you opened up your second location.
Yeah. So I got actually a phone call from a number in Florida, and I just about didn't answer it. And I decided to, and it was Ron Daniels. He's the owner of Buyers Realty out of Des Moines. And he just owns a lot of commercial property. And he starts talking to me and says he got my name from a guy that he sent up to the area. He sent him to the gyms, and he wanted to make me a deal that I couldn't refuse. And I said, yeah, right, dude, I've heard this shit before, and that's what I told him. And he started talking. I didn't really know who he was, and we met. And so Ron owned across town. It's a Hy-Vee building. It's kind of like a strip mall area, and he had about 6,000 square foot that he needed to put something into, and he wanted to put a fitness center there.
Okay.
And so what he did is he sent a person out of Chicago up here to the area to see if a fitness center could go there, and then also who he thinks should go there. So he visited all the other local gyms around, and then he reported back to Ron. And he must have liked me, must have liked what we were doing, because he gave Ron my name, and then so that's where Ron cold called me. And he wanted me to expand right across town. We met and we hit it off, and I still remember telling Ron, Ron, if I decide to do a deal with you, I don't fail. And I just don't, I won't let it fail. And that made him feel extremely confident. And so he decided, he did the complete build out for us. We bought all the equipment, we did all that, but he paid for everything, as far as fixing it up, getting it ready to go, which was, really nice of him.
Great.
And then I just did the best job as I could for him. I did I was the general contractor for him. I got everything done, and he paid for it. And so moving across town like that, it was a little bit of a challenge, but I seen the vision. A lot of people called me, geez, you're building a gym right across town. That seems really dumb. There was a lot of haters out there. Why did you build a gym so close to the other one? Well, the way I seen it was that you're going to get two gyms for the same price that are going to be completely different, but still functional to do any type of workout you want to do. And no one was doing that. And so what I ended up doing is doing that exact thing, but I added a smoothie bar, and I added classroom, and I added massage beds and full body cryotherapy along with a full gym over here. And so, and it was it's a beautiful location. And then once we did that, then things really started to take off. People started to realize, wow, I get two memberships for one price at $19.99 a month. and I can go to either one, and they just loved it. Our smoothies, took off. A good friend of mine started Nutri Smoothie, and he always told me to do smoothies, and I just didn't have room to do them at the original facility, so I incorporated those. I got called crazy for doing that as well. Really, now you're going to put smoothies in there? And so they just never see the vision, They just don't get it. And so we built a smoothie bar, and it took off. And so that was the second location.
And is that currently your what you would call your flagship location still out of the? I think you have 4. Is that right?
3.
There are
we
3.
Have 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that your flagship?
Yeah, I would say so. Yes, okay. I would say so. The newest one is fairly new. I think we're about a year and a half on that one right now.
Okay.
But yeah, and so I got approached to build one in Clear Lake, which is only about 12 miles away from where our other 2 are at, the little town down the road. And, I'd got letters in the mail and just people that wanted us to come over that way. And so actually my realtor guy, he actually got the meeting set up because he lived over there, and I just got done with this project, and I was like, oh man, I can't handle another one, because these things, they really take it out of me, getting startups going.
Right.
And so he got the meeting going. I looked at it, I seen the vision, I seen what it could do over there, and so I dove in. We did it, and we've been open 2 years, and it's a beautiful place, and it's going very, very well over there as well. And so now they get 3 locations for small price that are all different. We didn't duplicate nothing, but like I said, all functional, do whatever. We added food over there. We added smoothies. We got localized cryotherapy over there, so there's just a little bit different at all of them.
I see. So often you meet people that had one successful restaurant, and maybe they opened up another one or 2 more, and then all of a sudden they're out of business because they stretched themselves too thin, or things like that. But in your case, so far, are you happy you opened up additional locations? It's working out for you?
Oh, very happy. I'm very happy I did it. I did have some, there was a lot of stressful nights wondering if I'm doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is my family going to suffer? Is, with my time, is all that. And that's one thing that I never wanted to suffer, was my kids growing up and missing sporting events and anything like that. And I don't. That's the number one priority. And, and that's one thing I didn't want to suffer. And it hasn't, it's,
that's good.
There's a lot of fake stuff going on in my head, how it was going to affect it. But, I got the right people to help me. And, you just keep my priorities straight.
What was, so the biggest challenge early on, what was the hardest? Was the hardest thing walking away from the guaranteed job and doing the personal training and having cash flow tied at home the first couple of years? Was that the biggest hurdle, or what was the biggest hurdle early?
Probably one of the biggest hurdles, the biggest hurdle in the first gym was basically, trying to work a full-time job.
Okay.
And then also us building that gym, us doing all the hands-on labor, the majority of it, and doing that. So, going to work at 3 a.m, getting off at 1, working till 10 at night, and getting that built and trying to stay somewhat, balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the biggest hurdle with that was the mental part of it, not knowing if this was even going to succeed.
Right.
And, we're putting all this time and money, and I signed everything away, and it was very stressful, and construction is not easy. I've did it, did a lot of it. And
right.
Yeah, it was just very, that was probably the hardest thing, to stay balanced, through that process. And just, there were so many unknowns at that point. When I expanded to the second facility, I knew in my heart at that time we were going to make it. I had no doubts. A lot of other people did, but I knew. So that made that easier. That one was different.
You've always been a confident guy. For the listeners that don't know, and a determined guy, right? You used to, or you still have some bench press records. I think, I don't know if they're U.S. records or worldwide records, but can you tell? I know you probably you strike me as a pretty humble guy, so you probably don't like to talk about it. But if you don't mind, can you just tell the listeners real quick some of the things you did there with some of the bench press records, because it's really fascinating, and I think it speaks to how determined you are and your work ethic. So if you don't mind, just share a little bit of that.
Yeah, for sure. Bench pressing was a big part of my life. I think I started bench pressing in the third grade, and I bench pressed every day. I really didn't have no guidance. I just did it, and I'd always loved it, and I always loved lifting weights. And, I started to get really good at bench pressing and started traveling different places, learning different techniques, different form, different things from a lot of different people, and started to really rise. I started to compete. And then, I got into what we call equipped bench pressing, and that's where we use a bench shirt, which they were designed for people with bad shoulders to be able to bench press still. Well, equipped lifting kind of turned into its own sport, so it allowed you to hold heavier weight, but it also got very technical on how to use a bench shirt and how to get the most out of it. And so it became very intriguing to me. I got a little bit bored with raw lifting, because it's very hard to move up and down once you get to a certain level. But the equipped bench pressing gave me a whole different avenue. I could hold extreme weight. I could do extreme things. And a matter of, a quarter inch here and there, basically can mean life or death if you don't have the right people around. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of like a turn on to me, holding extreme weight and being under that type of pressure, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so, I really started competing in it, and I competed every 12 to 16 weeks, we competed just a ton. I had a great group of people that we lifted out of my garage. And then I started to look at records, and I started breaking records. I started breaking, state records, national records. And then I started looking my eye on all-time world records. Wow. I wanted to be at my weight class, I wanted to be the strongest guy ever to bench press at that weight. In the equipped division.
And what was that? What was that weight? If you I can't remember. Was that 140 or where were you at?
Well, my weight was, the first world record I broke finally was I weighed in at, it was a 242 pound weight class, and I benched 920 pounds. And, that was in 2011.
920 pounds. Wow.
Yeah, it don't make sense to a lot of people, it sounds awful strange. But yeah, that's what I did. And then, I was a wrestler, so I was used to cutting weight, and I thought, you know what? I feel good. My body's healthy. I'm going to cut down to the 220 pound weight class, and I'm going to try to get that record. And so I did. It was a brutal cut. It was very miserable. And I rehydrated right, did everything right, and I ended up hitting that. I did 909 at the 220 weight class. And that one actually still stands. Yeah, the other record got broke on at the Arnold Classic on the main stage. And so that one got broke by a young man, and happy for him, records are made to be broke, so it was good. So so that's kind of where it went.
Well, there's something to be said about, I think, that experience, right? It really speaks to who you are. Like you said earlier, I don't fail. You're super determined. And once you set your sights on something and you say, hey, I'm going to accomplish this, you go for it, And I think it speaks, heavily towards the business you've built. So congratulations on that. And hey, you're still walking around. How old are you now?
I'm 42.
So you're 42 years old and you still walk around saying, hey, I still have a world record at the age of 42.
I still have a world record.
I love that.
And I still can do things. I still can throw balls to my kids. I still can swing a bat. I didn't hurt myself, and I'm still, I'm pretty well pain free. I give it up when I needed to, and that's why, I kind of distance myself from the sport. I have to get away. Just because I know I'll commit to doing another one, and I know I can't do what I used to do. And, because I do miss competing a lot. But the only way for me to do it, and I know myself, is to distance myself from the sport. And that's what I did. I miss a lot of my friends, but, for me to stay healthy and where I need to be right now, like I said, I had to get away and,
Gotcha.
And refocus.
Can I ask you, switching gears just a little bit, along with being a first-time entrepreneur, first-time business owner, along the way here, now you're also experiencing, how to be an executive, right? How to be a supervisor and a manager of, lots of employees, several locations. So that was also, a transition for you. Can you walk through, what are some early things you learned about being, because I guess at this point you are, you probably don't have a bunch of fancy titles, but you are the owner / CEO, so to speak. What are some lessons you've learned over the last few years being over that many employees and experiencing that?
Well, the biggest lesson I learned is employees are a very, very big challenge to find the right ones. I've got some very great people that work for me now, and what I've really realized is that the better you treat them, the more money you can give them, the more I get out of them, and the more they'll do anything and everything for me. And I see that's a downfall in a lot of businesses and companies. They don't, they treat a lot of their employees as numbers. I know they have a lot, but there's no, I don't know. I just treat them as humans. I want all my employees to be as successful as they possibly can. And I want them to make as much money as they possibly can. And I stress to them at every one of our staff meetings that I'll help them do that any way I possibly can, but they have to show initiative. If they want to get better, I help them get better. Mm-hmm. If they don't, they can stay and be an employee if they're good, or whatever they want to do. But yeah, the employee part is hard. We do it a little bit different from a lot of people around here. We create a schedule and then we let them kind of work together on filling in for each other and helping each other out.
Okay.
So we're not in the middle of, I can't work today, can you find somebody for me? It's once they tell us their schedule for the month, we come up with the schedule. After that, if they need time off, then it's their responsibility to find someone to cover for them. Mm-hmm. And I think they appreciate that. It gives them a little more free time, a little more independence, and it takes some stuff off of us as well.
I was going to say, it keeps you from having to mess with, Johnny calling up saying, hey, can I switch my schedule? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah. And we just got to WhatsApp, and we really stress to them, help everyone out that you can. If you're available to work, help somebody out, because sooner or later you're going to need someone to cover your shift. Mm. And, that's how what comes around goes around. And they're really, really good with it.
When you're interviewing people, what kind of, personality or character traits are you looking for? How do you, besides specific experience, what are you looking for in their character when you're deciding whether or not to hire somebody?
I really, what I stress to them is that no matter who walks through the door of our facility, you need to put yourself on their level. We don't want a robot standing at a counter when someone walks in. I want to see emotion. I want you to make them feel comfortable and see, voice changes and excitement and different things like that. We've interviewed we've had some employees where they're almost, like there's no emotion there, and they're just kind of robotic. And so that's most, I guess, what I look for is that type. And usually when they're that type, they're energetic, and I don't have to worry about work ethic at that point, And so I try to read them that way. And then we just make sure they're a good person. I'm a pretty good people reader and can tell. And, we're very much about, not treating people as numbers here like a lot of fitness centers do. We want them we want them for a member for life. And so they have to make them feel important in that aspect of it.
Is there a favorite interview question you like to ask, or one or two that you always kind of ask during the interview, or no?
You know what? They they give me crap all the time about it because I wing every single one of them. Honestly, I do. When they sit down and we start talking, I don't talk about anything. I start talking about them. We start talking about their family or whatever, or what they did for the day, and then we just go from there. Okay. I'm not where you sit down and, hey, tell me about yourself. Tell me, I don't get into that. That doesn't mean a whole lot to me. That's all
a free-flowing, free-flow natural conversation just to find out who they are, sounds like.
Exactly. That's all I do. And it works.
It works. It sounds like it's working for you. That's for sure. So,
yeah.
Congratulations on everything that you've built so far. It sounds like it's going well. What's the plan now at this point? Are you going to franchise? Are you going to put facilities in other states? Or are you just going to stop right where you're at? What's the plan from here?
I know. I've thought about it long and hard. We get letters to, go to different areas. I don't really want to do that. Franchise is still an option. I've got different people that are reaching out to do that. So that's a possibility. But, I do have another company as well that I'm part owner of, and I'm actually vice president of sports and nutrition with that. So that is starting to really take off, and that's a lot of my passion as well right now. And that's our, it's Zaka Life. It's our full spectrum hemp company, and that plays a big part into our gyms about how overall health is and making people, become pain-free mentally and physically and prescription-free. And, that's our focus at the gyms right there. And the other company plays a huge part of that. And so I have a lot of focus on that right now.
Okay. Zaka Life. And Cole Stegman was also a guest on the Riderflex podcast, the CEO for that company. Great guy, great product. So you weren't busy enough already with a family and 3 facilities and being CEO. You're involved in another company too. How do you balance? How do you balance your life? I get that question a lot from people. It's like, gosh, I got 2 kids at home. I'm trying to go to sporting events. I'm trying to be a CEO, and now here you are. You're involved in another company. What's the magic for you to balance everything?
It's I just try to keep perspective on a lot of different things. I do put the family first, and once you do that, then everything else will find its way. You'll find time for everything. I do, one thing. When I was trying to break world records, one of my things that I did was really tried to eliminate as many distractions as possible. Ones that are really dragging you down that you don't know it. For example, you won't find very many training videos out there of me when I was, going on world records, and everyone was asking, where's the videos? How come I don't see no training videos or training logs? Well, I never tracked one workout of mine. I didn't get into that because it took time. It was a distraction to me. I learned how to read my body, and no social media, very little social media, because it distracts you, and people don't realize that. It's distracting you, and the majority of it is negative. It may not look negative, but a lot of it is negative. And so I just really try to eliminate the negatives. When I got back from Biohacking Week, we talked about plucking your weeds and growing your garden, and that's a huge factor as well.
Gotcha.
Get rid of the people that are dragging you down that you don't really realize that they are, and then grow your garden. Surround yourself with people that are like-minded that can help you. Us humans, we need other humans, but we need the right humans that are on the same page with us and the ones that can help us.
Oh, I love that.
And so
that's good.
Yeah, and so that's what I did. And so that helps a lot. That's a tremendous amount of help to keep balanced in that aspect of it.
It's interesting you bring up the social media. I don't think people understand how many minutes a week they're burning scrolling through Facebook with their thumb. You know what I mean? I don't think people understand how unproductive that time is. Not that all social media is bad, and I don't want listeners on this podcast to start bashing, hit me with all kinds of hate mail because I said social media was bad, because Riderflex, we do a lot of social media, but I do know people that just waste minutes on it, with, like you said, negative stuff or whatever. They're not using it wisely to learn about something or educate themselves or whatever. So you're absolutely right. I think it's bad, and I don't think it's going to get any better either. That's the scary part,
Right. And there's just what the really sad part to me is that there's so many people out there, they're just reaching for attention because they're suffering at home. They're suffering mentally, they're suffering physically, and so they use social media as a platform to get that attention that they need, and they think that that's helping them. And in reality, that's not really helping them. It feeds them for a little bit, but then they go back down. And, I use basically our social media for the majority part for marketing,
for the business.
And because it's free. Yeah, and then I also like to throw some of my kids' stuff on there because you have relatives that don't get to see your kids, and they can go through Facebook, some pictures of them competing.
Yeah.
And then I like looking at my memories, Oh, now, there was them 3 years ago, and it makes me sad.
By the way, I did look up some of the YouTube videos of you bench pressing that stuff. I mean, really incredible.
Yeah.
By the way, so your kids, are they competing? Do you have kids competing in powerlifting or anything? Just curious.
Yeah, no, they did compete. I started my kids at a very young age, and we just perfected body weight movements, and then they competed at our kids events, the charities that we did. So they deadlifted. Both of them did at really young ages, and it just got them to, it taught them a lot about being in front of kids that, are suffering life-threatening illnesses, and you get to lift for them, and so it was very grounding for them. And so, yeah, they've competed. My boy, he's a freshman now, and my daughter, she's a seventh grader. And so they don't compete in powerlifting anymore, but they're competitive in all the other sports. And
is your freshman?
They still lift, they still work out, but we just don't compete. What's that?
Okay. Is your freshman son, is he wrestling like you did? I'm just curious.
Yes, wrestling is his sport. I don't want to get into it, but we just had very bad news with him. He broke his hip last Monday.
I'm sorry. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, in football, but it's okay. Like I told him, we got to go up to, we didn't think we needed surgery, but now we got to go up to Mayo Clinic and we got to have surgery. And, yeah, it's okay. And like I told him, I go, your very bottom is someone else's mountaintop. I go, well, so they got it way worse. A lot of people have it way worse than you. We'll take it, we'll recover it, we'll heal it, you'll grow from it, and we'll move on. It's tough now because it's his freshman year. You only got 4 years to compete, but I told him it's okay. It's going to be fine. We'll heal it. We'll do what we can and move on.
You get that kind of injury, it's better to do that your freshman year, versus your senior year or something, right? I mean, so. Oh
yeah, I feel so bad for seniors that get hurt.
I know.
It's
a killer.
It is. Too. It's sad. It's
Well, I tell you, there's always something different about wrestlers, by the way. Now, I don't want to turn this into a wrestling podcast, but I know from experience that early wrestling and weightlifting stuff you did, I mean, I'm sure it molded you in so many ways with your competitive spirit and facing adversity.
Oh yeah.
I've always, I've watched these boys. You get your face pounded in the mat enough times, you learn how to get through stuff.
You do, and I stress that to all athletes that I talk to. Everything, wrestling is a sport that taught me the most about life, hands down, by far. Without wrestling, I wouldn't be where I am today. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And the sport is a beautiful sport that just teaches you so much about life.
I couldn't agree more. Jake, you're such a fascinating guy. I could have you on here for a lot longer. I really appreciate you calling in. And congratulations on everything you've done. Really, I mean, incredible. And the risks you took, that's really, and I know I spent a lot of time on that at the beginning of the podcast, but so many people I talk to, they're just afraid, they're just afraid. They have an idea. They deep down, they want to own something. They want to start something, but they're just afraid. I'll hear people, they'll tell me, well, I got this other job, and it's a guaranteed pay, and I got to have so much money to make my mortgage. And so they just never take the risks. And so congratulations on rolling up your sleeves and just going for it. Yeah,
and them people out there that are doing, what I tell them, just do it. You can always go back and do something else, and then just try not to listen. That's where I see a lot of people fail at with the decisions. Is they got too many people talking negative to them of why they shouldn't do it. Because I had a very smart man tell me one time that 90% of the people out there want to see you fail, and a lot of them are your friends. Because they're jealous. They don't want to see their friend become successful of something they wish they would have did. Right. And so what they'll do is try to preconceive that into your head that, if you fail, you're putting all this money in, blah, blah. And so that's what I couldn't listen to. And I'm so glad I didn't, because if I did, I wouldn't have did anything.
You're so right. Really some inspirational stuff, Jake. Thank you very much, my friend. Yeah. I'm very, very, very glad to know you. And I hope we talk a lot more down the road. Congrats on everything you've done. We truly hope you find our material helpful and entertaining. And while our podcast can be heard across most platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud, you can become a supporter of this podcast by visiting our show on the platform Anchor FM. That's anchor.fm/Riderflex. You can also send us your questions or suggested topics for future episodes to the email address podcast@riderflex.com, or drop us a voicemail at 888-964-5876, extension 710. Visit riderflex.com to learn more about us. Thanks so much for listening, folks, and have a great day.